Smart contract hacking is one of the most lucrative skills for blockchain developers. See, billions of dollars have been exploited from blockchain protocols in the past year alone. And in this video, I want to show you how to profit off this trend, but not how you might think. Not so that you can be a thief, but so that you can become an ethical hacker who can spot vulnerabilities in blockchain projects before other people take advantage of them, so that you can disclose these vulnerabilities and become compensated handsomely for it. And in this video, I want to show you the top 20 resources that you need to know to become a highly paid smart contract hacker. I'm going to show you all this as a blockchain developer myself who works with this technology on a daily basis. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then of course, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you like this video today and you want to go for the throat, break into the blockchain industry, increase your salary well past 100K, I can help you do that over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so the first resource that you need to understand is the Remix Debugger. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Remix, this is an online, browser-based IDE where you can write smart contracts completely in your browser. You can deploy them to a blockchain and so much more. But you can also debug smart contracts, okay? So basically, if you deploy a contract, all right, you can find any of the pre-loaded contracts here. You can compile it, all right? You can go to the Deploy tab. And then if you look at this transaction down here, for deploying the contract, you can do debug. So any transaction that you make, you can use this debugger to step through it and see all kinds of information about it. Because in order to become a good auditor, you have to deeply understand how the EVM works. And you can use this opcode reader on a single transaction and click debug after a successful transaction in the terminal. And this is going to provide the entire opcodes for each transaction, and you can run them step by step. And if you want a more step-by-step guide on how the debugger works, you can just look at the Remix documentation for details on that. All right, so piggybacking off the previous resource, the Remix Debugger, right? That's a great opportunity if you want to just debug smart contracts all in your browser. But sometimes you want something a little more robust than that, okay? You want to have a set of tools on your computer where you can use the command line, you can use a terminal, all that type of stuff, right? And that's why I'm going to recommend the Foundry Debugger, okay? So what is Foundry if you're not familiar? It is a smart contract development framework that's written in Rust, okay? And this is kind of similar to, Hardhat or Truffle if you've used those JavaScript-based frameworks. But the nice thing about Foundry is it has a really great debugging tool built into it where you can do the same types of things that you might do in the Remix Debugger, all right, but even more advanced than that. And you have more control and flexibility by doing these things on your computer, right, as a developer. And it's also really fast because it's written in Rust. Okay, so like I was saying before in both of those previous resources for debugging smart contracts, one thing that's going to give you a massive advantage as a security auditor or an ethical hacker is understanding how the EVM works. And again, that's understanding a lot about how the opcodes themselves work. So you can check out this EVM.codes. This is an opcode reference, okay? It's interactive. So you can see each opcode, all right, the actual code associated with it, the name, all right, the minimum gas, the stack input, the stack output, and then also a description of what each opcode does. Okay, you can also click this expand tab to see more information about each one, all right? Or you can just see a nice table fashion here for a quick index-like reference. So if you want to know a comprehensive list of what it is, you can, of course, look down this thing, memorize it if you want to, but probably the best thing is just going back and referencing this on an as-needed basis. And so to understand the opcodes even more, all right, we've looked at the debuggers, we've looked at this opcode reference. You can also check out this EVM Playground, okay? So if you look at the EVM.codes, like we saw the list here, you can click on the Playground tab up here, or you can just go to EVM.codes/playground, and you can look at this browser-based tool here, where you've got the code on the left, all right, and then the instructions on the right. So I'm going to change this to Solidity. Okay, you could put the bytecode in there if you wanted to. You could put the Solidity source code in there. You can look at it in Yule. All right, I'm just click Solidity because that's the easiest thing to understand for most people. So this is a basic counter contract. All right, you can see the Solidity on this side. You can click Run. Okay, and then what it's going to do is it's going to compile it. But then you can see the list of opcodes here on the right and everything that happens at that lowest level. Okay, that's a great way to use this in tandem with this. All right, so another great tool here is this OpenChain.xyz transaction tracers. This is created by Samsung. You can go check this out. He's definitely one of the leaders in the space. for smart contract security. All right. And so you can see how this works. You can go to Etherscan and take out pretty much any transaction you want to. I literally just pulled up a random transaction here on Etherscan, went to the homepage, looked in the latest blocks, and just picked a transaction. And we'll just pop it in here. All right, and you can see how it works. You can see the status, timestamp, all the basic things that come on the transaction receipt here. But then you can see all of the low-level things that are happening. All right, again, if you want to understand how the EVM works, you need to be able to see this type of stuff. And then you can see this with transactions that have actually been executed by the EVM in a production environment. So definitely highly recommend, checking out this tool. All right, so another tool to know about is Mithril, okay, put out by Consensus. So what is Mithril? It's a security analysis tool for EVM bytecodes. I've been talking a lot about bytecodes in this section, and so Mithril is definitely a tool that you want to know about. It is a tool that you can run on your computer, you can run with Docker, and then basically you can analyze any contract from a Solidity file just like this, okay? Or you can put in a contract address if the contract is deployed. So that's the nice thing about it. It supports Ethereum. It supports a couple other chains like Hedera, Quorum, VeChain, Rootstock, and Tron. Okay, other EVM-compatible blockchains. You can use Polygon, etc., etc. Okay. And so next is Slither. So this is a Solidity static analysis framework written in Python. Okay. So you're basically going to have the same type of tools that's going to help you detect vulnerability. It's also going to print out visual information about the contract details and provide an easy API to easily write custom analysis if you want to do that as well. So it's pretty standard. You have a command line tool called Slither. Okay, you can basically test against your single files just like this, and there's all types of different detectors that you can see here, and also add your custom detectors with the configurations that it specifies. And so another is Echidna. Okay, so Echidna is a smart contract fuzzer. Okay, so basically, if you know where the name comes from, it's a weird creature that eats bugs and is highly electrosensitive. Okay, so, bug eating, that's the whole idea, is checking for bugs programmatically with a tool like this. So you can see what it does. Again, it is a fuzzer, all right? So it's powered by Slither, all right? So it's using the same type of things underneath the hood, but Slither is doing static analysis, and this is doing an entire fuzzing campaign, okay? All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, speaking of fuzz testing, like we were talking about in the last resource here, I want to go back to Foundry, because again, Foundry is a suite of tools for creating smart contracts, written in Rust. But I want to drill down on Forge, okay? Because you can actually do entire fuzzing campaigns with Forge as well. So basically, writing tests with Forge and doing fuzzing is a lot of the work of auditing in the first place. And so you can check out the Forge resource on the Foundry GitHub repository here. And you can also check out the guides for the Git book on how to, do fuzz testing with Forge and Foundry. It's a really powerful tool. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is cheat codes inside of Foundry, okay? So this is part of Foundry, but it's a really specific reference I want to talk about because it's really powerful. So what does it do? Well, if you want to, deploy a smart contract and try to debug it, and you're debugging it in the wild, well, you're really just debugging it at the current state of the blockchain. But what if you wanted to debug the smart contract at a specific time in the past? Okay, well, you can do that. So you can basically specify a block number, and that will debug. You can basically change the blockchain time to that, and you can see the state of the contract at that specific block. So if you saw something in the past where there was an exploit, then you could look at the state of the contract during that time. You could also manipulate. You can basically pretend to be somebody else on the blockchain. There's lots of different things that you can do with Foundry's cheat codes to give you an advantage for auditing the state of the contracts at a different point in time from a different user's perspective. So highly recommend this. All right, so another resource to understand is the Alchemy Composer, okay? So, one way to debug smart contracts is to actually look at the RPC calls that are being made to the blockchain. So essentially, what does that mean? So RPC calls are basically how you talk to an Ethereum node or a blockchain node that runs, EVM, the EVM itself, okay? So basically, if you're in MetaMask and you click, sign and send transaction, what that's going to do behind the scenes is talk to a blockchain node, and it's going to take your request that you sent with MetaMask, and it's going to turn it into something like this behind the scenes, okay? And so you can see all the different RPC methods and the parameters. So basically, like, you can see an example here. I can just build a request to get the latest block number. You can do send request. You can see you can preview the call here, and then you can see the response itself, okay? So it's a similar type of thing. If you want to, talk to smart contracts, you can do that with this. You can put any type of RPC method that is supported by the EVM on here, okay? And you can see what the request is going to look like and what the response is going to look like as well, including any parameters that you want to send in, okay? All right, so another tool that you can use to do the exact same type of thing is Laika, okay? So this is basically a web application that lets you create a new request, okay? You can put in the contract address, you can put in the smart contract ABI if you want to, all right? And then you can basically build a request to the contract, see what it's going to look like before you do it, and then also, see what the response is going to be. You can do reads and writes over here. You can add the parameters, and that's a great way to do this manually as well. All right, so another tool to look at is the Slither graph printer, okay? So basically, you can visualize certain things with Slither, and a call graph is a really helpful thing to see, okay? So you can see this print call graph. So what it's going to do is you can see all the dependencies that get called when you're doing the functions. So sometimes you inherit from multiple contracts, or maybe you call different contracts on the chain inside of the same function call, and it can be really opaque, and you're not exactly sure what the chain of, what order each domino falls in, or even how many dominoes there are in that chain. And this is a great way to see that with some of these types of things on the page. And there's different ways that you can visualize that as well. All right, so another tool that you can use for smart contract testing, auditing, hacking, whatever, is actually ChatGPT put out by OpenAI, okay? So unfortunately, I actually can't pull up ChatGPT right now because the time I'm recording this video, it's down. I guess I could sign up for the premium subscription, but maybe I'll do that later if I become more reliant upon this tool. But basically, it is an artificial intelligence language model. And one advantage it can give you is basically you can give it smart contracts and you can say, hey, find the vulnerability in this. All right. Now, it's not going to find everything, right? There's a lot of things it can't do. It can't actually check the accuracy of the information that it tells you, but it actually can be a very helpful tool if you're trying to understand what a smart contract even does. So you might look at this function in Solidity and maybe it might have some obscure thing that you don't get, but ChatGPT may be able to explain that to you. And if it can't explain it to you perfectly, it may give you the next sort of like piece of information that you need to know to research it even further. So there's lots of different ways that you can leverage ChatGPT. So definitely check that out and don't overlook it. All right, so one way to get good at security auditing is looking at past audit reports. So a good resource for this is looking at Code Arena, all right, and looking at some of the past reports published on the site. So you can basically go to a contest report. You can see information about the audit here, so the high-risk findings, okay? You can actually look at the details of what this is. That will show you explicitly what was wrong with the code and how these problems can be mitigated, okay? Again, if you want to start getting into the depths of the EVM and seeing why certain things are bad, then you will understand this stuff when it's reported inside of these audit reports. So that's definitely a great way to increase your skills. And so another place to look at audit reports is Sherlock Reports. Okay, so it's the Sherlock protocol. Basically, you can go to the Sherlock Reports repository, and they have all these PDFs that are just committed to a GitHub repository. You can see the most recent ones down here. Okay, they're dated, so they'll sort. And then basically, you can just see the same types of things. You can see disclosure of the vulnerability, exactly what it is, what the impact is, what the code snippets are, the tools used to actually find these things. So again, you're seeing Foundry, that's what I've mentioned already in this, plus manual review. And then how to essentially fix this problem or the mitigation strategy here. So another one is the Rekt news website, okay? So these have been formal audit reports we've seen in the past, but Rekt is a news website literally devoted to DeFi exploits. And you can see all the most recent ones here, all right? And they will actually give pretty good deep dives into what happened on these types of things. You can see code explained right here. You can see the debugging, you see the attacker addresses, and this is basically like an audit report, but more in a new style fashion. This is a great way to find out about new exploits and what happened. All right, so another way to get good at smart contract hacking is to actually work through games that teach you about vulnerabilities, okay? So Ethernaut's a pretty good example of this. It's put out by Open Zeppelin. All right, it basically walks you through different scenarios and gets you a challenge to try to break the contract and act like a hacker. So you can play it entirely in your browser. It's pretty awesome. Definitely recommend checking that out. Another similar resource is Damn Vulnerable DeFi. Okay, this is a set of challenges that you can play that basically say, hey, here's the scenario, here's the code, now try to exploit it. But this is a little bit different, okay? So you can do this entirely on your computer. So it's got a GitHub repository. You can see each, you can see each contract for the code inside of there. All right, that'll help you understand each vulnerability as you come across it. You can examine the code and see what you need to do to fix it. And then basically you write a test and then make the test pass in order to complete the challenge. And the nice thing about some of these is if you can't figure out what the solution is, there's lots of places online that'll give you the answers. You could also ask ChatGPT. All right, so another resource that you can use to learn smart contract hacking is to get inside of online communities on Discord. So I'll just give you one good recommendation here. You can go to Code Arena and scroll down on their page and then open their Discord inside of there. Okay, that's a big, vibrant community who's all working towards the same goal of doing smart contract hacking. So that'd be a great place to find out about new information, learn to see what others are talking about, and also make some connections. All right, so another guide that I'm going to point you to is a smart contract audit readiness guide. So really what this does is it helps you answer the question of, am I even ready for an audit? Okay, so basically it's going to help you understand how to prepare for a smart contract security audit, understanding audits, about when the best time to do it is. You have an entire checklist that you need to see to understand if you're ready to go through with that. And then what to expect during an audit. So this can be helpful from both sides of the equation. If you're a developer trying to get your smart contract audited, this can be good for you. But if you're also trying to learn security auditing, then this can help you understand what you could position yourself for. All right, so another thing you could do to understand the Solidity programming language better to do auditing is basically look at the latest Solidity releases or the change logs and understand what's happening. Okay, so this gives you a couple distinct advantages. One is you're going to understand how the Solidity language works better, because when you see improvements, like they made the improvement for a reason, and you can understand hey, maybe it was not the best thing in the past, but then you're also going to understand the EVM better and then how they implemented these changes. Okay, you can see the different codes right here. So you'll see there were previously bugs, and so that can also retroactively show things that could be new vulnerabilities in old versions of Solidity. Okay, so definitely staying on top of this stuff will give you some extra edge as well. All right, so now I'm going to throw at you a couple different extensions for your code editor that can supercharge your blockchain development. So one of them is a Solidity Visual Developer. This is for VS Code, okay? You can actually install this plugin, all right? And then you can visualize what's happening inside of a smart contract, okay? You can see all these different lines of code. You don't know what they all do, but this can actually print out a visual map to see what's happening behind the hood. You can also check out the Solidity extension itself, okay? This is highly rated. Basically, it's going to give you syntax highlighting. It's got code completion if you want to do that for your Solidity code. You can do a prettier so to keep your code looking nice. And it also has compiler optimizations as well. So another plugin is the Viper extension. This is a lot like the Solidity extension, but for the Viper programming language, which is an alternative smart contract development framework. Smart contract development language for the EVM. All right. So if you're a Viper fan, you could definitely check out this package. Or if you ever have to audit a Viper contract, you could use this as well. All right. And so another one is the DeFi package. So Ethereum DeFi language support. Okay. It's going to give you things like tokens that are popular with their addresses plus the market cap, all types of handy things right inside your editor. All right. So this is the top 20 resources you need to know if you want to become a highly paid smart contract hacker. So I hope you like this video. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people learn about blockchain. And if you want to take action beyond this video, what can you do? Well, of course, you need the programming skills in order to pull this off. So you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find any of those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those videos and you went to the next step, or hey, maybe you want to just go for the throat, I can show you how to break into the blockchain industry, increase your salary well past 100K over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Okay, you don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.